We will begin momentarily. I'll start with some housekeeping tips, but I'll give just a few more moments. Everyone, welcome to our 2025 Self-Direction Virtual Conference Series. My name is Ines Rosas. I am a senior consultant at Applied Self-Direction. For my visual description, I am Latina. I have long, dark brown, curly hair, and I'm wearing glasses today. And today I'm wearing a green and gold shirt. Thank you again for joining us. This is the 5th session of our conference series, Financial Management Services, Friend or Foe. I'm going to run through a few housekeeping tips before we begin. Due to the volume of attendees, participant microphones have been muted and will remain muted. There is a toolbar at the bottom of the Zoom window with a few options you can use throughout the webinar. There's a react button that you can use to submit reactions or emojis throughout the presentation. You can also submit questions and comments at any time during the session by using the Q&A button in the same toolbar at the bottom of your Zoom window. We have time reserved at the end of the session for your questions, and we will address as many of your questions as possible at the end of the session. Closed captions and translation are available for the presentation. You can access the closed captions by clicking on the CC button or choosing Show Captions. This session is being recorded and will be available on our website along with the PowerPoint slides. The entire month of April is brought to you by our premier sponsor, PPL. Thank you. And a hallmark of the Self-Direction Conference is graphic facilitation recordings. Eris Solutions has graciously sponsored Ink Brittany to capture a fantastic drawing of today's session, which we will be sharing on our social media. So stay tuned for that. And to get things kicked off, we'd love to know who is in attendance today. So I'm going to launch the first poll question. We'd love to know who is in attendance, so take a moment to answer how you would describe your role with self-direction. And I'll give everyone a few seconds to submit your answers. Thank you to those who've already quickly submitted them. Before I share the results, we're getting some top scores. We got 45% FMS entity, 23% state staff. We've got 7% case managers. Thank you for joining us. Advocates. 9% family or friend of a self-directing participant. Thank you for your answers. And everyone should be able to see now who we have in the room. Thank you again for joining us. And I will now turn things over to Erica to get us started. She is also a senior consultant at Applied Self-Direction. And I'm going to pull up the slides real quick as well.
Thanks, I'm doing this. As Ina said, thanks so much for joining us for Financial Management Services, Friend or Foe. We're going to be dispelling some common myths that people may believe about FMS entities. This session is going to be highly interactive. So if you thought that since your videos were off, you could take that after lunch nap, you are wrong. Without further ado, let's introduce who is going to be talking to you today. My name is first on that list, so I got nominated to go first. As Ina said, my name is Erica. I'm a white woman with medium length brown hair with purple streaks in it. Today I'm wearing a rainbow colored sweater because I love colors. I am a self-directing participant in a sole employer model. I have been self-directing for over 20 years. You will notice that I didn't say my age in my visual description, but obviously since I've been self-directing for over 20 years, that means I started when I was a child. I Anyway, I live in my own apartment with 24-hour care through the Wisconsin Iris program. It is the Wisconsin Self-Directed program. I'm also lucky enough to work full-time at Applied Self-Direction as a senior consultant, like Ines said. Before that, I was a case manager in the Wisconsin Self-Directed program for over 8 years. And I left that to become a support broker with this Wisconsin Self-Direction program and have been that for over 3 years now. So as you can see, I have worked with FMS entities from all different angles. As a matter of fact, about the only role I have not had in self-direction is actually at an FMS entity. But that's because I can barely do online banking and should not be helping anyone with any sort of financial management. So without further ado, I will pass it over to Vicki to introduce herself.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Vicki Gunderson. I live in Wisconsin. I am a white woman that has kind of a reddish blonde hair. It's all color. So it's not my true color. It would be gray. I do have on a gray sweater with a black top, so I'm a little bit more boring. Erica sounds much more flamboyant than me. But we're really happy to be here today. I work for a company called Acumen Fiscal Agent. We're in 33 states. We provide the fiscal management, financial management, fiscal intermediary. There's all kinds of things that we've been called. And I've been working in the self-directed world for about 15 years. I've been in healthcare roles for about 35. So I am probably sharing my age a little bit. And really happy to be here today with Erica and Jonathan. Jonathan, your turn.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Jonathan Claflin. I am the Senior Operations Manager with Premier Financial Management Service. I am, I'll say, in my mid-40s, short brown hair with a black and white, black vest and white button-down shirt on. I have been working in self-direction for the last 11 years. And I have learned a lot from Vicki and have the joy of working with Erica on occasions like this. So I am very happy to be here today co-presenting with both of them. I'm going over our session objectives today. Next slide, Ines. There. So we're going to go over understanding the employer responsibilities in self-direction, what truly is the role of the employer versus the role of the fiscal employer agent or FMS entity. And then we're also going to go over dispelling some common myths about FMS providers in the self-direction programs. So I'll turn it over to Erica now.
Thanks so much. If you want to go ahead and go to the next slide. First of all, I want to start off by saying that we are just talking about general employer responsibilities. We know that things vary state to state, program to program, and sometimes even employer to employer. So we are broadly talking about about the role of an employer in a sole employer model. And I am very much drawing generally from my experience in Wisconsin. So we understand that there will be some differences in some changes between different programs, but we're talking about a sole employer model right now. So in a sole employer model, who's the employer? Well, that would be you, the self-directing participant. You're the employer, the boss, the CEO. I know when Ines did this poll, there weren't that many self-directing participants here, but if there were, that's who I was talking to. So the person who is self-directing is the employer, the boss, and the CEO. That person is in charge. They are the company of fill in the blank. So for instance, I am the company of Eric Andrews. And just like any company, I'm solely responsible for what happens in my company and the CEO. I have a lot of supports along the way, but ultimately everything is my responsibility. To talk a little bit more about what it means to be an employer. And again, we just want to say that we're making general statements about the sole employer model, and this would be with full budget and full employer authority like we have in Wisconsin. So in a program like that, the employer has complete control over everything. It's super exciting, but it also can be a little bit scary, right? I control who I hire. I get to set my own schedule. I get to decide what the pay rate is, obviously within state and program guidelines. And I also get to decide what services people provide. So obviously the services are also within plan and authorization guidelines. I'm also responsible for everything, which also can be a little exciting, but a little intimidating, right? So I have to ensure that all of my employees' paperwork is turned in. I have to ensure that EVV punches are correct. And if I have any time cards, they're correct and approved on time. I have to make sure I stay within that budget of mine. I can't be overspending. I have to identify services and supports for my plan and talk about give all the details, every intimate detail of my life to a person I met 5 minutes ago, so we can make that person-centered plan and get those services and supports on there. And I also I have to make sure that I'm only purchasing things that are on my plan. So if they're on my plan, they aren't going to get paid for. So all of those things are my responsibility. I think sometimes it's a little bit confusing about, whose role is what. So in order to clarify that, I am going to hand it over to Vicky to talk about the FMS responsibilities.
Okay, thank you, Erica. I was just answering a quick question in the chat, so I'll just kind of share that. Someone was asking about, as Erica is an adult, if it was a minor, who would be the employer of record. So quickly, I just answered that. That is really a state-by-state situation. In the state of Wisconsin, what I can tell you is the person receiving the supports and services is the employer of record, and we obtain the EIN, employer identification number, in their name, even in the children's waiver program. However, a parent would still be the manager to help that child, obviously. Or if you're an adult waiver program, you could have a guardian. You could also have a legal representative, and there's forms that can be filled out so that those people are able to assist you. So then what is an FMS? So, and again, a lot of this, as Erica kind of alluded to, is going to be very general because each state does things differently. Even within a state, we have 2 long-term care programs in Wisconsin for adults, and there's differences between those 2 programs. So you might hear an FMS referred to as the financial management service, and that is what most of our slides should say, or we believe they do. We found a few corrections, but FMS is financial management services. You might hear FI, that's a fiscal intermediary. Fiscal Employer Agent is an FEA. A fiscal agent could be FA. So you may hear different terms. They're referring to what Jonathan and what I am, and there are other fiscal agents within our state as well. So the FMS is going to assist those care teams, or in Wisconsin, an IRIS consultant. We assist in getting the employer of record, such as Erica, set up so that she's meeting what the requirements are for the Internal Revenue Service, or the IRS. There's certain forms that are required, they're not optional, that are actually required, that we need to have on file, and we have to file them with the IRS so that we can be an assistant to Erica in her self-direction successes. So we help to onboard workers. If someone decides to hire a new worker, once they've already hired workers, we can help with onboarding that worker and making sure that all of the correct forms that are required by the IRS so that we can do their payroll are complete. If they have garnishments that are coming out of their wages, we work with making sure that that's set up and that those are turned in. We ensure all payments are sent to the workers based on a payroll schedule. And for EVV, which everyone I know probably doesn't care for that term, electronic visit verification. However, it is federally mandated. That is not something that Jonathan or I or any other fiscal agent has chosen to say that you have to follow EVV. It is a federal mandate that we have to follow. So we need to follow Department of Labor, Fair Labor Standards Act. So if you hear of FLSA, we follow those guidelines as well. We want to make sure that the payments to either their workers that they're hiring, if they're self-directing, or their vendors, if they've chosen an agency, that we are making sure that they are receiving timely payments. To do that, we have to make sure that we have the correct documents on file. And not only the correct documents, but the documents have to be completed correctly and accurately. So I know we've got a lot of FMSs from what the poll said on here, so I'm sure that everyone would agree that that is really key. We want to pay people. We don't want to, have delayed payments or denied payment. We want to be able to pay people timely, just like we want to be paid as being employees. So our goal is to do that timely. However, we do have to make sure that all of those documents are correct. Our other is to assist everyone in making sure that there is an EIN number. So an EIN is your employer identification number. That is held and stored with the IRS so that they know that you are a home care recipient, and that you are hiring either agencies or vendors, people that are going to provide your services and supports. The EIN allows us to do that on your behalf. There's another form called a 2678 that gets filled out that allows us to act on your behalf. We run background checks. Some states require fingerprinting, and the FMS is handling that. Wisconsin is not one of those states, but there are many states that do require that there's fingerprinting. I always tell people, think of us as Erica's HR department. We're going to run the background checks. We're going to do the pay checks. So your HR department does that. We're, in a sense, your, assistant, your administrative assistant, or your HR department. That Erica?
Thank you so much, Vicki.
You're welcome.
So now is the fun part, and where y'all get to get involved. So no afternoon naps or Amazon shopping during this section. I'm going to read a statement, and then you guys get to vote if you think it's fact or fiction. And go ahead and go to the first one. First sentence is, my FMS would rather chat with their friends around that water cooler than get my employer paperwork process so that I can start in self-direction. Do y'all think that this is fact or fiction? I know that a lot of us have thought this. I can tell you, when I first started with my FMS, I was like, what is happening? Why is it taking so long? What are people doing? What is happening? I should preface this by telling you that Jonathan and I are pretty much BFFs at this point. We've had quite a few years together, and we had some rocky roads at the beginning, but now we've had a lot. We've worked together for so long that we've worked that out. I mean, at least I think so. He probably might still not think we're BFFs, but okay, I'm going to hand it over to Vicki to go through the answer.
Okay. And it truly is fiction. I know for some people it truly is real life. So you do truly believe that maybe that is what's happening. It is fiction. Your FMS wants to pay you. They do not want to hold payment back. We really do want to make sure that people are being paid, because we also know that Erica wants to keep the workers that she's found that are providing her supports and services. We do not want to, endanger, put her at risk by somebody quitting because they didn't get paid. That is not our goal. We do have to make sure, just like we can make a mistake, other people can make a mistake in submitting their time. So we need to make sure that it meets all the requirements. It also fits within Erica's budget. We can't just pay, somebody wants to submit 40 hours, but her budget is for 20. We have to monitor those types of things. So we also need to, as I said earlier, make sure that, all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted, and that we have everything complete so that when we're audited, that we're able to pass our audit and continue to be an FMS.
Okay. And Vicky kind of alluded to this one. She skipped ahead a little bit on us, but
Sorry.
so the next one, fact or fiction. Someone at my FEA must have it out for me. They keep finding errors on my employees' paperwork and sending it back to me. It's so annoying. Why can't they just fix it themselves? Again, would you say this is fact or fiction? I can tell you, before Jonathan and I became such best friends, I really was like, come on, can we just fix it? Why can't you just make that Wisconsin that somebody did a capital W and a little I? Can't you just make it a capital W and a capital I? Or why can't you just fix this little thing? Why do you have to send it all the way back to me? And even when I was an Irish consultant, I was like, okay, just put the comma in. Why can't you just do it? But I'm going to hand it over to Jonathan to tell you why they can't do that.
Perfect. Yes, so, we want to make sure that everything is as easy for you as it can be. However, with some of the forms that we deal with, they are IRS forms, and the IRS has very specific guidelines as to, what they will accept, how they want it to show on the form, and that, that can prohibit us from getting an EIN. So we have to make sure that the forms are filled out correctly, and we would love to make some of those changes on the forms for you. But unfortunately, we do have to send those back because they do need to be filled out either by, depending upon the form, either the self-directing participant or their employer. So going over some of the forms as well, we have a couple that we want to go over, specifically the I-9. So in the state of Wisconsin, here with Premier, this is the form that we probably see the most issues with. The purpose of this form is it's used to identify or to verify the employee's identity. It does need to be completed by all employees, and only certain forms are allowed, or forms of identification are allowed. With the I-9, I believe it's now like a 6 or 7 page form. There are a lot of instructions with it as well. But it does go over what can be in, or what forms can be used in sections, or excuse me, in list A, B, or C. So going to the next slide here, thank you, NS. Looking over the I-9 form, this is really all to be completed by the worker. So this is going over, the worker's demographic information up top in section 1. So their name, address, their date of birth, social security number, email, and phone number. Another thing that we see missing a lot on the form is the citizenship status. So we do need to know if the person is a citizen, a non-US citizen, lawful permanent resident, or non-citizen. And then we need to make sure that the worker is in fact signing and dating the form as well. I was kind of talking about this a little bit before with the list B and C, or list A, B, and C. The form does give specific documents that can be used in list A, B, or C. If you're filling something out in list A, that would typically be like your passport. List B and C, this is where we see most of the information filled out, and that would either be the driver's license and social security card. Filled out similar to how we have it here, making sure that the document is listed. Obviously, social security cards, the one we have in the C, does not have an expiration date, so that can be left blank. Otherwise, we do need to make sure that everything is completed as it's, as it is on the card, either driver's license or social security card. We need to make sure that the social security number is legible. We do have to do some verifications on the social security number. So we do need to make sure that that is legible as well. And then one thing that is also, oh, go back 1 second, Ines, sorry. One thing that is missed as well is the spot for the employer to sign. So on the bottom of that, making sure that that is filled out by the participant, their last name, first name, their title, whether they're participant or HHCS or HCSR, their date, and then making sure that they are signing it as well. So now we have a little test for you. When we want to know what's wrong with this I-9, and if you can put it in the Q&A, we will look there and see what the responses come up. But if someone can let us know what's wrong with this I-9 based on the forms we just went over. Correct. Thank you, Pooh. The date of birth is missing. There is one other issue with this form. Can anyone find the second? Oh, some other people commented. Everyone's commenting no date of birth. Thank you, the anonymous attendee at 127, no citizenship as well. So, Ines, if you can go to the next slide. We do highlight the two issues. Oh, go back one, sorry. We do highlight the two spots that are incorrect here. So there is no date of birth and there is no citizenship. So as an FMS entity, we would send this back to the worker, asking them to correct these two, and then submit it to us with the information added. Next slide. Something else that we're seeing are the W-4. We're also seeing a lot of issues with that. The missing marital status. So really on the new W-4 that's been in place since 2020, section 1 and I believe section 5, or box 1 and box 5, are really the only two areas of the form that are required in order for it to be considered a completed form. And that is the top of the form where you have all the demographic information, and then the bottom part where the worker will sign and date it. And that's really all that's required on the W-4. But what we have been seeing a lot is we're missing that marital status or that filing status. Also, if the worker is claiming exempt, unlike the 2019 and prior W-4s that did list where the worker can put exempt on there, the new 2020 and current W-4 does not allow that. So if claiming is exempt, it should be put under, or in that white space under line 4C. And if you are claiming exempt, make sure that there are no dependents marked in step 3. So those are the most common areas that we're seeing with those two forms. Back to Erica for our next fact or fiction.
The next one is, I think the CEO of my FMS must be trying to save money. Maybe they're going on vacation or something, because my workers or vendors or whoever is on your plan are continually not getting paid, or they're getting paid incorrectly. It's so frustrating. Do we think this is fact or fiction? I think that you guys have figured me out now and realize that most all of these are not fact, but it is really frustrating, right? When your workers don't get paid. And like Vicky said a little bit ago, you can lose workers if they don't get paid, and it's really important that they are paid on time. Most no caregivers or personal care attendants, or whatever you want to call them in your state, are getting rich by doing this job. They're doing it because they love us and they want to help. And so it's really important that they can get paid on time. I'm going to hand it over to Vicky to tell you why it is fiction.
Thank you, Erica. And again, yes, self-direction is so important for people to be able to stay in their homes. We know it's more cost effective. We know that working with an FMS can be frustrating. And so we really are in hopes that, set the frustration aside, try to build that relationship. And understand that we understand from your perspective, if you're self-directing, it's really important. As I mentioned before, we don't want to see you at risk. We don't want to see you lose your workers. It's hard to find workers. There's been a caregiver shortage. We know pay rates and benefits and all of that play a factor. So we're very conscientious about wanting to be able to pay people. We don't pocket any unspent funds. If it's in your budget and, it's not something that we can just pay out to you either. If it's not in your plan and it's not being used, it's not like you can call us up and say, hey, there's money in my budget. Can you send it to me? Obviously, that's not an option for us. We are that third party that's handling this so that the money doesn't come directly to you. If it came directly to the participant that is receiving services, their bank account's going to go up for that period of time, and then they're going to lose their benefits because they don't meet the financial eligibility. So that is why an FMS is involved in this and that we handle that. But most people wouldn't want to have to deal with, audits or the IRS or unemployment, work comp. And so this is why we are your lack of terms in HR for you, or your administrative assistant, as I tell many people. So we are here to help you be successful. We're not going to pocket any money. We can pay out what is on your authorization. So if your authorization has ended and we're unable to pay, that's when we have to get involved with, in Wisconsin, it would be a care team or the Iris Consultant Agency so that we can get a new authorization. We can't be paying something that we have not been authorized to pay on your behalf. That also is protection for you because we are also making sure that someone is not submitting time that maybe, they fraudulently signed on your behalf. And so this is a protection also for the person that is self-directing, that we're helping to monitor everything. There are federal, state, and program guidelines that dictate what we can do. We have to follow the payroll schedule. If you're to be paid every other week or weekly, we need to follow what those guidelines are. There are certain things that an agency or even a caregiver might, depending on your state, be required to, have medication management or dispersing medication. Maybe there's a class that's required, or for the agency, it's a licensing that's required. We have to make sure that those are done. And if they've expired, that they have been renewed, and that we have a current certification on file. Some states require driver's license for providing transportation and insurance coverage. That is all something that an FMS needs to make sure is done before we can pay. So sometimes that can create a delay if we don't have the most accurate things on file. I know another thing that people wonder why, well, I work for 3 different people. I work for Erica, I work for Vicky, I work for Jonathan. Why do I have to fill out these forms 3 different times? We are all different employers, so we have to make sure that those forms are all filled out for 3 employers. It's like I tell people, if you go to Target and you go to Walmart, Target and Walmart don't share their employment paperwork. You have to go to each person. So for us, it would be going to Erica, filling out documents, Vicky filling out documents, Jonathan and filling out documents. We make sure all of that is done. Background checks have to be run in Wisconsin every 4 years. We need to make sure we have a current background check on file. And then we also verify that however you're submitting, whether it's through a paper or through an app or through a profile or that's online, a portal, I didn't mean profile, portal online, that, that is again, meeting all the requirements, that the person that you're providing support to has signed off on that, so that we can pay. And so again, I've said it several times, I probably sound like a broken record, but we do want to pay people. It is not our goal not to pay.
Before we go on to the next question, I just want to also point out that these last few have been very much like things that could happen because they are people, right? So errors happen. We're all human here, right? Like I'm a human, Vicky's a human, Jonathan's a human. Although Vicky and Jonathan aren't actually the ones inputting the time cards, we also just have to give each other grace sometimes, right? Because I can tell you, and Jonathan can attest to this, that I sent him a little nasty gram one time because someone wasn't paid. And then I realized this was back when timesheets were still allowed, 2 timesheets that stuck together. And I actually hadn't given my FMS Premier the time card to pay it. So they couldn't pay it. So I sent a nasty gram saying, why wasn't my employee paid and why this is ridiculous and they, need to be paid on time and this is your job. Oh, actually, I didn't do my job. I didn't get that time card to be paid. So just remembering that we are all human and things happen and there's going to be mistakes on our part, but there's also going to be mistakes on FMS's part, and we should just kind of give each other some grace and some leeway. Now, obviously, if we're making a ton of mistakes and sending nasty grams every other day, Jonathan might come back at me one of these times, but or if the FMS is making a ton of errors, then it's a problem. But there's just an error here and there. We do have to give each other grace, right? Okay, our next fact or fiction. Vicky alluded to this already, but my FMS started this thing called EVV, Electronic Visit Verification, to make payroll easier for them, and it stinks. I'm sure if any of you are in states where EVV has started, this is probably your opinion. It is my opinion. I do have to say, though, I was one of the holdouts. I did not do it until the hard launch started. I did not start. And I do have to say that time cards, when they're done right and done well, my payroll is a lot easier to verify. And I don't have to do all that faxing and scanning and emailing. So, okay. I don't even know who I'm handing this over to. Vicky.
To me. Yeah, that's fine.
Just
Okay. Yeah, and there are a lot of myths out there about EVV, electronic visit verification. It is, as I mentioned earlier, it's a federal mandate. This is not something that Jonathan or I or the state chose to do. There was a lot of work involved in getting this up and running, and so we can appreciate the frustration behind it. Again, it is to avoid some risk. It's to avoid some fraud. And it is part of the what's called the 21st Century Cures Act. It was passed in 2016. To overturn this, I've seen a lot of Facebook groups and different things, how do we change this? As it says on the slide, this is going to take an act of Congress to overturn. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. It's a slow process in some states. In other states, it's been moving along really well. So I think most people have adopted EVV in most states, and some are probably in the beginning stages. It is not something to fear. It truly is going to make things easier. As Erica said, there was a lot of people in Wisconsin that held out and held out and held out and still are holding out. And it does need to be okay, because there's nothing that we as an FMS can do to change it. So we've all different FMSs in different states. There's different software that plays into effect. Again, there's the 6 components. There's going to be the date that you received the services, who's receiving the services, who's providing the services, the time in, when you started working and when you left work, and what type of service you were providing. So they're not asking things that aren't part of the job that you're doing, but it is a requirement. And then for most, it also is telling the location of where the services were provided. And I know that has bothered a lot of people, but it's where you're providing the service, whether it's in the community or in the home. And that way they know that you are doing the job that you were hired to do.
Right. And our last fact or fiction. My FMS disenrolled me just for a couple of payroll errors. This is crazy. Is that fact or fiction? I luckily have never been disenrolled, but I have been at the conference, our conference in Wisconsin, and that's where this one came from actually, because the in-person conference, somebody, you know, raised their hand and said, "You disenrolled me," and it turned into quite a little argument. So Jonathan was there with me. We'll let him talk about what the truth is.
Yes, and even though Erica did forget to send a timesheet once, I still would not have disenrolled her from the program. This is fiction. We do not, as the FMS, do not choose to disenroll participants from any program or for services they're receiving. Any of the disenrollments are due to programmatic reasons. They're not compliant with program responsibilities. I know some states are getting close, if not already, disenrolling for EVV non-compliance. You know, so there's issues like that, all programmatic, nothing to do with the FMS. The FMS is notified of the disenrollment, probably about the same time that the participant would be notified of that as well. So next, Erica, I think we're going to open it up for more fact or fiction. Is that correct?
Yep. So I do know we have some in the chat too, but if you have other questions that are weighing on your mind, again, I know we only had a couple of self-directing participants here. We do have some family members of people self-directing. We have some advocates. We have some case managers. So if there's some questions that have been burning on your mind that are just, you know, irritating the heck out of you, feel free to put those in. If you're another FMS here and you want a myth dispelled, you're like, oh, people always think this about us, and it annoys me. Feel free to put it in the chat so that Jonathan and Vicky can dispel it for you. Or feel free to put the comment in the chat and the dispelling of the myth as well. But yeah, it's your turn. What do you want us to know?
And I see Vicky's already responding to one, but I do like Julie's. Does the FMS talk to employees to get dirt on the clients? I see, like I said, I see Vicky is responding to that in the Q&A, but we don't here at Premier, and I'm assuming Acumen doesn't either. No FMS should really be trying to get any dirt on the clients. You know, I try and stay out of what's going on between participants and their workers as much as possible, other than just making sure that we have all the paperwork we need for processing and making sure that we're paying payroll timely. That's as far as I have enough other things on my plate to worry about. I don't want to hear dirt on clients. Vicky,
I will just add to that. Now, if somebody called in and there was, you know, a situation that, you know, someone is at risk, obviously we are going to take that seriously, and we will follow up with their care team and whoever is their support. We want to make sure that people are in a healthy and safe environment. So if you know, it's a rumor that someone's calling in and saying something, but if it's something that warrants that we feel someone is at risk, we will follow up with that. And I'm sure Jonathan or any other FMS would do the same.
That was a great question.
that was. Also, is an FMS responsible if they make an error on taxes? Vicky, do you want to start with that one?
Here I am. Okay. If there's an error made, we would go ahead and if, you know, once it's identified, we would work with the IRS. And if it's on withholding tax or something, and yes, there would be an amended, something taken care of there if it's on the behalf of the participant. If your meaning is there an error on taxes taken out on an employee's payroll, the same would happen. Once that error is identified, we would definitely make things correct. And again, that would be any FMS would do the same.
And thank you for that, Vicky. Another question came in from Jamie. Are FMSs required to report if you suspect fraud, waste, or abuse of funds? And the answer to that is yes. As Vicky was kind of alluding before, on getting dirt from clients, if we hear that, or what we're hearing is potentially putting the participant at harm, we are required to report that. Similar to this, if we suspect fraud, waste, or abuse based on timesheets that we receive, if participants are continually submitting for 24 hours a day and their care plan does not require 24-hour day services, we would report that. It's an investigation is going to be opened here in Wisconsin. We, have a system that we use to report that, and the consultant can follow up. If they find that it is being done fraudulently, or they feel that there is a suspicion of, or not suspicion, if they suspect fraud as well, they can escalate it to DHS for some research. But yes, the FMS is required to report if we are suspecting fraud, waste, or abuse.
Okay. Up here at the top, I'll scroll up here. It says in DC, our local tax office recently raised concerns about proper PDW filings, which has resulted in beneficiaries receiving delinquent tax notifications. After discussing with the tax representative, they're considering contacting the beneficiaries to confirm whether they are aware of what our contracted FMS is filing on their behalf. Have other FEAs experienced similar issues, and what steps can I take to advocate effectively for my program participants? That was a lot. So, let's see. The delinquent tax, I know what we've had calls in the past where someone will receive that, and usually it's in error. There's just the misunderstanding of who's handling it. And so once the FMS clears that up, then that goes away. I don't know, Jonathan, if you have any other. I would say the FMS just, needs to contact and make sure that all the correct forms have been identified that need to be, like the 2678 that states that they're the ones that are handling the
Correct.
tax
Yep.
liability for the self-directed situation.
I would agree.
And then, are there any best practices or resources for effectively collaborating with your local tax office? I'm not quite sure what you're talking about, the local tax office. If you want to maybe provide us a little bit more information on that, is it Shanna? Jonathan, do you want to do the anonymous attendee at 127, or did you already talk about that one?
I don't think so. What
Okay.
are some of the, and we're kind of switching from the fact or fiction into just the Q&A as well.
Yeah.
What are some of the best practices for self-directed individuals and the FMS to maintain up-to-date I-9s, especially given federal deportations and removals of temporary protected status impacting workers? So, what we do is anytime we're given an I-9, if it has, the driver's license with the expiration date, we do track that in our system, and we will follow up to ensure that we get, updated documentation before that expires. If they're using another form of passport or, a work visa, we, do track and follow up with those as well. It's also just making sure that there's constant communication between the FMS and the participant to ensure that, if anything does change as far as demographic information, living arrangements, if they go from a live-in worker to a non-live-in worker where EVV is now required, in some states, it's really just keeping those lines of communication open as well, and making sure that, the FMS is constantly getting any of the updated information that they need to ensure their records remain up to date. what do you think the responsibility that an FMS has to make sure their timesheet and online portals are accessible to participants and accommodate special needs? This is a very good question. From my standpoint, I think that's high responsibility of the FMS. We need to make sure that any of the if we don't have timesheets and we're asking everyone to do timesheets electronically, in my opinion, it's our responsibility to make sure that our participants and their workers can access that, and have the ability to submit their timesheet just like any able-bodied person would. It's definitely a high responsibility to us, because we are serving the participants, so we need to make sure that we're accommodating any special needs that they have. With timesheets, if we need to make them large print for people who have limited vision, anything we need to do to make them more accessible to ensure that we're getting corrected documents in, that is definitely the responsibility of the FMS to make sure that we're making all the accommodations as necessary. The participants already have enough on their plate, and just managing their employees, making sure all of the tasks are getting done. It's definitely something that we can do, to make sure everything is getting, to make sure it's as easy as possible for the workers.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your questions, but we are going to have to end there now because we just have a couple of things we want to see in conclusion, and then Ines has some things to wrap up. So really, this whole session has just been about partnering with your FMS and making sure to build a strong relationship. So the first step in partnering is just building that relationship with your FMS. Now, you might not be able to become BFFs like Jonathan and I, but hopefully you can at least build some sort of relationship. And then if you know that EIN number, that employer identification number that Vicki and Jonathan talked about, if you're switching FMS or you're just getting started in FMS or something like that, please share it. It will definitely save you time when your self-directing lifestyle is beginning. Also, making sure you're understanding the processes and their responsibilities and your responsibilities of an FMS. Make sure you know all the processes that they're going to go through and what's going to happen and how it's going to happen. When I switched to Premier, which I'm with right now, I wasn't as familiar with their, how things went. And so there was a little bit of bumps in the road at the beginning. But then once I figured out what was going on and where we were at, and once they figured out that I have about 50 employees that they had to transfer over, that took some time. That made things a lot easier. Also, making sure that you make your needs known and understood. I'm going to just go down a limb and say Jonathan and the rest of my FMS would probably wishes that I would stop making mine so widely known, but it's good to make sure your needs are known and understood. And also ask for assistance when needed. Again, mine probably wishes I would stop asking for so much assistance, but hopefully we really have shown that FMSs do truly care and they just want you to be successful in self-direction. I mean, the whole purpose for them being here is for you to be successful in self-direction. So they want you to succeed just as much as you want to. And I've not met a person that works at an FMS that doesn't truly believe in the self-direction model and just think it is a really amazing model, and they want people to be able to participate in it and get going. And then finally, ensuring that the FMS understands when and if improvements are needed. Now, again, Jonathan probably wishes I would stop making suggestions on improvements, and I wasn't so free with my constructive criticism, but, I still like to provide it. But obviously, as we talked about, we are all human here, right? So mistakes happen, things come up, and things happen. So we need to be polite and respectful and understand each other and try to give each other grace. But understand also that this is your business, so things are not being done how they need to be so that you can be successful. We need to have a conversation, be polite but firm. So that is it for today. I think I'm handing it back over to Ines to finish up some housekeeping things. Thank you all so much for participating.
As Erica said, thank you all for joining us today, Jonathan and Vicki. Thank you for your expertise and time. A quick survey will pop up on your screen following the webinar. And don't forget, we will be hosting a session every Wednesday from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Time through March and April. Don't forget to register for each session individually. There are 4 left after today. I can do quick math. You can find the link on our website at appliedselfdirection.com, and we hope everyone has a wonderful day. Thank you, everyone.